Hello, welcome back to the podcast, you guys. Today we're starting, I think we're starting our Hispanic Heritage Month episodes with Victor and
We are
Valentino.
in Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yes.
I don't know when this episode comes out.
Okay, whatever.
It's
It
the
doesn't
last
matter.
one in whatever month this is released in, because it's a first impressions.
This is my month, so
Yes, it is. And we stand with you.
yay! So proud of me. Anyways, let's just get started with Victor and Valentino.
Right. So before we start a recap, I just want to say it was very hard to watch this show legally. HBO took this off their app. Of the 3 streaming services I could find this on, one didn't even have the first season. Another had a total of 15 episodes, all of them seemingly random. And the third one made you spend $3 per episode. You could not buy a whole season. You had to buy each episode individually for $3. So I looked if there were any physical media out there, and all I could find was a DVD that only had the first 18 episodes of the first season on it. And I know you guys are probably like, oh, just pirate it. Yeah, of course, whatever. That's not the point. The point is that digital media sucks ass, and as a consumer, I believe that companies should eat swamp ass every time they Thanos snap one of their shows. Okay, anyway, episode 1. After being explicitly told by their grandmother to be careful with a vessel containing a trickster spirit, Victor immediately breaks it. The spirit, Hui Hui, goes around town wreaking havoc. Before he's able to break his other friends out, the brothers trap him again.
Victor is a little gremlin of a child, and I do not like him. He gives me bad vibes. I think I don't think I'm too old to enjoy characters like him, but at the same time, I do think I'm too old to enjoy characters like him. But at the same time, I think he's a decent character.
That's so interesting you say that, because him immediately trying to break the spirit thing immediately solidified him as like the gremlin sibling for me. And okay, I do like him, but I also think that you really have to be careful when you write those kinds of characters, because they can get really annoying really fast. But I think for me, at least, the 6 episodes that I watched, I didn't think he was annoying, because I think that Valentino was capable of really like evening things out and making him enjoyable.
Yeah, I also agree. I do really like how Victor and Valentino bounce off one another. I feel like if it was just one or the other, I feel like if it was just... Actually, never mind. Valentino, I think if it was just him, I think I could have lived with it. But if it was just Victor, I don't think I could have lived with it. It honestly kind of reminds me of Steven Universe at times with how they acted. And I enjoyed Steven Universe when I watched it at the time. I would not be able to watch it anymore. And I think that's how I feel about this show. If I watched this earlier in my life, I think I would have enjoyed it more, but I could not watch it and enjoy it as much anymore now. I really loved the grandma and her 180 shift in this episode. She stole every scene she was in. I hate to be that person, but Hui Hui is a queer and I don't make the rules. I mean, come on, literally when he was first introduced in the episode, I was like, that is a queer. And yeah, I just want to say that. It had to be said.
There's like a 70% chance that a villain will be queer-coded.
Yes, exactly. We don't make the rules, it just happens.
Disney actually wrote the rules, and they were correct on that one.
Yeah. What was the rules called? What was the actual law called?
What?
The law that was like, you can only make queer people, you can only have queer characters if they're villains and they die in the end. You know what I'm talking about, right? That is good, I
like
think.
A Hollywood rule or whatever.
Or whatever. I don't know exactly what it was called, but we don't make the rules. They made the rules. It was a rule. It isn't a rule anymore, but they still make the rules, you guys. Come on.
I feel like it's still a rule.
Oh, I like how the ongoing joke of Victor not knowing how the spell ends being the solution to the episode, where he was trying to like say the spell and then Hui Hui like said it a third time, and that's how they actually ended up capturing Hui Hui. I just liked how that ended.
I feel like it's such a grandparent thing to do, to tell your grandkids a terrifying story and then just peace out. I have very clear memories of my grandpa like talking to me about Chucky, and then just being like, all right, well, I'm gonna go and get some groceries. And they had a Chucky doll at their house, and they wouldn't tell me where they put it. They just like hide it places. And I have very clear memories of being terrified. Anyway.
Oh my god, what?
Yeah, but I feel like all grandparents do that to their grandkids.
Okay, I've only ever met my grandparents once, so I don't know. I can't relate, but I'm glad I don't relate, to be honest.
I definitely feel like it's a grandparent thing to do. Just scare the fuck out of your grandkids and be like, okay, go live your life. I really like how they use Hui Hui flying around town to show off some of the areas and the background characters in the show. I also just think his character in general did a good job showing the differences between the 2 brothers. Episode 2. After intentionally not being picked by his own brother for a soccer team, Valentino makes his own. In order to beat his brother, he allows a soccer superstar to use him as a vessel. It takes Val tricking him in order to send him back to the underworld.
I really love Charlene in this episode. She's just a weirdo, and I love that about her. Guillermo makes me want to ask so many questions. Like, why does Guillermo call his mother creator? Is this supposed to be some sort of Frankenstein situation or something? I want answers. Also, that hug looks so awkward.
Guillermo is literally just a guy, and I love him. Like, he's just a guy.
Is he really?
Well, no, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a vibe.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
just a guy.
He's just a guy. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But at the same time, I just have so many questions about him. Like, what? Grown up Valentino looks weird as fuck. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, speaking of minor characters, I love Guillermo. I also love Charlene. She's such a weirdo. I love the reference to Poltergeist with the "he's here" line. And that just, I feel like this really brings up the fact that this show did a really good job creating background characters that are interesting and do have depth to them. Valentino tricking Juan into going into the ball was actually so clever. I did not see that coming. It may be because I'm stupid, but I did think that was a good twist. And like him doing the move that he couldn't do in the beginning. Okay, I feel like all children's shows do this where there like, something happens at the beginning and then it comes back at the end. This show did it as well in like every episode, but I feel like they executed it very well. Episode 3. In order to go to the Lucha Fest, Victor and Valentino have to fetch a replacement plant for their grandma. They accidentally choose an evil plant that grows from negativity. After growing into a monstrous size, the brothers have to apologize and make up to each other in order to defeat it.
Sochi is so nonchalant, and I really love that about her. Like that scene where Vic and Val are running away from the plant monster, and Sochi is just standing there, and all she says is, "I told them so," without even freaking out is perfect. This episode reminded me a lot of Infinity Train because there's a similar scene in season 2 when the characters realize that the plant is growing whenever they argue and ungrows when they get along. I like both instances. I just prefer Infinity Train more because I feel like Infinity Train is a better show in general. No hate towards this show. Still enjoyed it.
Okay. I would say you shouldn't compare these two shows because they're completely different, but okay. I think they're in two different brackets, but okay. Okay, neither of us have brought this up, but the title cards are so beautiful. They are so colorful and so unique. I just needed to point that out. And okay, that old man who saw that giant monster plant and was like, "I knew you'd come back, Rosa." Okay. And then at the end where he was like, well, wait, he was like, oh my god, he said another thing about Rosa as well. Like, that man. Dude, these writers are so good. Also, Victor is so mean and stupid, and I love him as a character, but he'd be the worst to be around IRL. Like, Valentino, he is going through so much character growth having him as a brother, and I just know that Valentino as an adult will be so well-rounded. Episode 4. Before I give a recap, I do want to point out, because this information is interesting to me and probably only me, it is common for a cartoon's production list to be in a different order than the airing list. What I think is interesting about this show is that the 4th produced episode never aired in America. It was only available to watch on HBO Spain. And there's actually something so nefarious about only airing an episode from a show that proudly shows cultures from the Americas in the country that literally colonized them. I was shocked, literally, when I found that out. Shocked and appalled. Anyway, okay, in this episode, the brothers are torn on catering for their grandma's 5th quinceañera or going to the cool kids party. After acquiring a magical transporting flute, they move back and forth, but accidentally ruin their grandma's quince. They make it up to her with a song and a dance.
This episode was a hard watch for me because it has one thing that's a bane of my existence: awkward moments and awkward humor. I've talked about this extensively. I hate it. I had to skim the last bit of this episode because Victor and Valentino were trying way too hard to make funny moments happen, and it was so awkward I couldn't stand it. Also, tryhards are so annoying, and I just feel the need to say that. I like how Maria literally has another tiara in her purse after someone takes one off her head. Someone takes it off and she's like, anyways, and then pulls one out from her purse and continues talking. Great scene.
It's really interesting that you say that you didn't like it because of the cringe. I didn't like this because it has the "we have to go to this party" story. And I'm not really a fan of those storylines, mostly because I think parties are really stupid and I don't get the hype behind them, and they just feel like a nightmare to be in. So I have never really liked these kind of episodes. Also, I did love seeing Victor be cringe. I think it's because usually I don't like a character being cringe, but I think because Victor is a literal gremlin, it works for him. Grandma is onto something. I really think we all should be counting our age by how many quinceañeras we'd have, or sweet 16s, depending on your culture. Okay, we've seen Maria Teresa vaguely in previous episodes, but this is the first episode we get to see her talk, and immediately I loved her. She is such a bitch. Once again, these writers are so good at creating interesting and fun minor characters. Okay, episode 5. The brothers find the rumored skate park in the jungle and meet a group of ruleless kids. After finding out the cult leader is a phony, Victor exposes him and the kids expel him.
Okay, so why does this episode end with a random dog crying? I'm really confused about that, and that's all I need to say.
What do you mean? You know what? It may or may not have had something to do with like one of the cultures that they pull from, but also what's wrong with a dog? Because the dog was there before, like a dog, like we get to see him in the like bushes at some point, like witnessing something. So I just think the dog was like really happy that the kids were sticking up for each other, and that's why he
Okay,
cried.
okay, I just feel like it was a bit random, but whatever.
I don't think it was random, Marco. I think it was a part of the story from the beginning because these writers are amazing. This story of the rule givers gave hardcore Mormon vibes. Like, a guy claims he saw someone who no one else has seen, and then he makes a bunch of rules that created a hierarchy and made him, like, the top guy. The only thing that was missing from this was overt racism. When Victor was at the bottom of the hole, Javier was literally going to kill him. And then at the top of the tree, when he literally pushed Vic out of it, that child tried to commit murder twice. And then at the end, the kid's like, some would say attempted murder. I'm like, I'm not gonna trash these wild kids for being wild, but like, I was really shocked at their willingness to like almost kill kids in this episode. Episode 6. Angry with Victor and Valentino's mess, their grandma's house transports them into a game-like system to teach them to clean their mess or die. The boys roll their way to victory and successfully clean their rooms.
I like how the house is an actual person in this episode, and I like how at the end, when Victor and Valentino are about to make a mess again, the house like makes a noise, and they're like, okay, we get it.
Well, I think this was the episode that made me question if I actually liked Victor, because that boy is nasty. Like, genuine. Like, that boy, like, I think it was the, what's it called? Like, the little ball?
Something breaker.
Jawbreaker, a jawbreaker. That little jawbreaker. The fact that the amount of, what's that? A Legend of Zelda reference in my first impressions cartoon? More likely than you think. Anyway, what's that? A Katamari reference in my first impressions cartoon? More likely than you think. Okay, this episode in general was just fun, mostly because the game shtick kept things feeling fresh, but that's something I'll talk about more during my overall.
Overall, I think this is a fun show. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue it, mostly because, again, there is no like real legal way to watch this show fully. Also, again, it's episodic. I'm not the biggest fan of episodic shows. Again, also, Victor is such a gremlin, and I'm just not sure if I could enjoy a show with him as the main character. But overall, I do think this is a fine show. I would recommend it to people. And yeah, hopefully you guys watch it and enjoy it.
I feel like racism is the only reason Warner wiped this show from existence, because it's a great show, and it's a recent Cartoon Network show. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but it feels like they don't make as many shows as they used to, and the ones they do make are either hit or miss, mostly miss. And what sucks is this show had such personality, and the writing is actually really good, which is a hard feat when each of your episodes follow the same format. These writers made each episode feel fun and unique, and it has a lot to do with the cultures they show. Here's what sucks. I would watch this if it was more accessible. Like, if I could just put this on my TV while I'm waking up in the morning on a weekend, I'd zoom through this show. But since it's so inaccessible because Warner hates everyone, that probably will not happen. And that's it.
Anyways, you guys, that's our thoughts on Victor and Valentino. If you want this on a voice message on Spotify or podcasters, there'll be a link in the description to do so below. We also have social media all in the description, and that's everything. So goodbye.